Mic check. Can anyone hear me? Okay, okay,
Yeah, yeah, audible.
okay. Thank you so much. Oh my God, so sorry, Lizzie. And Ladi is also stuck, affected by the rain. So sorry, guys. Good morning, everyone. I hope that we're doing great. Thank you very much for taking your precious Saturday to join us today. We are all aware that today's session. Okay, let me just turn on my camera. Okay. Um. Okay. Great. So we're all aware of about what today's session is about, but if you maybe it's possible you followed into the session, so I'll just like a quick run through before Tolu joins because I've not seen our speaker yet in this session. Okay, Tolu is here. Okay, hi Tolu. Mic check, Tolu. Are you there?
Yeah, hi guys. Good morning. Yeah,
Good
yeah,
morning, Tolu. Okay, thank you very much for taking your time to also join. Really appreciate it. So, I think we could just get into it since we're already 16 on this call. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our first, Launchpad Africa Core 2 session. My name is Deborah Adedoni, and I'll be your host for this morning. Before I bring in Tolu Adibe that is on this call, I want to take a quick moment to acknowledge where we are as a team. Firstly, we've completed week one successfully, and our build plans are coming in right as we speak, and teams are already forming. The work is just beginning, and that's all that matters, right? Consistency in showing up and in the progress that we make as a group. So this current session is designed to, I hope I'm audible, please, because the rain is really, please, am I audible?
yes, you're very elegant. Yeah, sure.
Thank you very much. So today's session is designed to set the foundation for everything that we will build in the next 11 weeks. We all know that this entire program is for 11 weeks. And before you derive the scope of a solution, before you dig deep into it, right? Before you think of the line of code to write or what prototype to build on whatever it is that we'll be solving, right? We need to first understand how to dig deeper in on the bigger problem, right? And that's exactly what we'll be getting into this morning. So our speaker, he needs very little introduction, but because it's just, it's just up there. Tolu is a product and project delivery leader with over 8 years of experience driving digital transformation across fintech, SaaS, health tech, edtech, logistics, and enterprise platforms across Africa. Tolu is currently the head of product delivery at Core, where he leads a team of 13 and he has helped deliver products that powers over 600 financial institutions across the continent. Tolu currently holds PMP and CSM certifications, and he has mentored aspiring product professionals across 7 countries. And he brings not just his technical and strategic depth, but a genuine commitment to developing the next generation of African product builders. We're very grateful to have you here, Tolu. It's indeed an honor to have you here. Thank you so much for taking your time to grace the session this morning. Please, everyone, help me to give Tolu a warm welcome. I want to see the reactions. I want to see the applause. I want to see the comments, Please welcome Tolu. So now I'll just hand over to Tolu to take over from here.
All right. Thanks, Adedoyin, for the introduction. Hello, everyone. The rain is really heavy where I am, so like it's a little bit quite dark here. So yeah, that's why my camera is off for. Good to have you guys here. I mean, I've been seeing on the group the good work you've been doing, the process around team formulation, how some of the team members have taken the leadership skill to like what's the word, steer the conversation within the group and then like champion the meetings. So I can already see those leadership traits and the ability to actually like get a team to self-organize. So I mean, kudos to those that have been doing that. So like Adedoyin said, today's session is pretty much around um how like products that make it to the market today and actually realize business income, right, are being developed. Hold on a sec. I think maybe I let me see if I can turn on my. Just hold on a sec, guys.
Tolu is muted. In case he's
Yes. Yeah.
okay.
Sorry. So he's trying to fix something around his mic and camera. So if you're just joining, welcome again. Our speaker is just trying to get the piece in check. So just give it a few minutes, please. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah. Okay. So luckily, I mean, there is thought power, and yeah, I'm able to show what Tolu looks like. So like I was saying, I've seen the good work people are already doing within the group, how they've been able to take leadership skill. And today's session is pretty much going to be focused on our products that make it to the market today, right? And when I say make it to the markets, I don't mean, launched to the markets, right? I mean products that are actually launched and are actually sustainable and are still bringing business value. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. Yeah, just let me know when you can see it. Okay, good. I mean, please, can someone just nudge me if they can see my screen?
Yeah, I can see
Okay.
your screen too.
Okay, great. So, I mean, no need to bore you guys with the introduction. The introduction has already been done, so we'll just move straight to what we'll be covering during this session. Like typically with my team, right? Before we even jump into how to define a problem, right? I like to always talk about the problem space versus the solution space a lot. So today we'll be covering the problem space and solution space. Basically, in quotes, that's what people call product discovery. The assumed versus real problems, what a strong problem statement looks like. The opportunity solution tree. This is one framework I like to use, even when I'm thinking about stuff to build. Even when people come to meet me and say, I want to build this, I utilize this framework to actually structure what the real problem is, the solutions around that problem, and how to prioritize those solutions, right? And then like the problem worthiness filter, that's basically showing you like if a problem is worth solving and the key things to look at, right? And then like if we have time, we'll go through like a live exercise. By the end of the session, you'll be able to, build your first opportunity solution tree. You'll be able to look at the idea you already have as a team and then refine it where needed, right? So yeah, like what is the problem versus solution space, right? Every product that is built today typically goes through this phase. And the problem we have in the industry today is, and I won't lie, right, is organ-driven development, which makes most people skip that space. Aside organ-driven development, for people like us, the team members who like to innovate, we tend to just jump into solution. Like, yo, I want to build something that would solve, right? So what does problem space mean? It means understanding before you build. So it means you're not just jumping to say, oh, I assume that this is what people need, and yeah, let's build it, right? Or you're not just jumping to say, someone is already building this, right? How about I build it because they are making money? Like, no. Fine, they are making money, but they might have strategies backing it. They might have key things that they are doing towards building that product, right? So it means you still need to go through the problem space to help you properly understand the solutions to come up with, right? So problem space, typically, I mean, there are key questions to ask. Who has this problem? So that is basically breaking down that problem into a particular user segment, right? And what I like to do personally is I like to break it down to the distinct level. Like, for instance, you might say people are unable to save. That is too vague. You might want to say, okay, break it down by persona, right? Like, oh, working class and business people who earn a lot to save, right, are unable to, gather their money and save because of this and that. Like, that way it helps you structure who your user segment is, right? And it helps you also understand something around, there's something they call the target addressable market, TAM, right? The serviceable obtainable market, right? And the serviceable addressable market, right? Imagine trying to build a product where you've not done research around how many people needs it. Like, what is the full scope of the markets that this product is going to play in? Like, and based on that, let's say, for instance, we are saying the serviceable addressable market is 5 million users. Oh my God, they've done it again. So I need to just, what's the word? Turn off my videos because there's no need for that. Like, you have 5 million typical users that can ever use that product, and then you have someone like a cash cow, like a big guy that already has maybe like 4 million of the users, right? It means the serviceable addressable market for you, obtainable market for you, is 1 million users. Like, if you now want to build your product, you need to think about the strategy around how you can even move those other 4 million people to your product, or if getting the remaining 1 million that you can address is even worth it, and how to get them, right? So the problem space focuses on who has the problem, how painful is this problem for them? Like, is this something they are willing to pay you for? And again, we'll get to that in the slide. Like, building products is fine, yeah, but how does that connect to your business objective? Like, the business needs to move, the product needs to make money. So you need to ask yourself, would people be willing to pay for these products, right? How often does this problem occur? Like, is this something that also happens like once in a while, meaning they won't get addicted to your product? Or is something that is recurring, that if they have your product, it solves their problem and they're always consulting it every time, right? What are they doing today? It means, what is their current state? How do they currently solve for that problem today? Either manually or through another product line that exists, right? Why do current solutions fail? If there are products that exist in the market today that is solving that problem, why are they failing? Why are people still having that problem? Like, why do people still feel like the problem has not been solved in its entirety, right? Once you move and determine all these questions, like answer all these questions in the problem space, right? So you then move in the solution space where you now build after understanding, right? So you're now asking, okay, what features should we build to cater for this problem? What tech stack are we going to use, right? How will the user interface look like? What is our product roadmap? How do we ship faster, right? Those are the questions to ask. So what does the problem space look like? I mean, thankfully, our coordinator mentioned something around, before writing a line of code, right? And that's the truth. before you write a single line of code, good product managers typically would observe, interview, and validate before they even start working on anything, right? I think in the next slide, in the previous slide, I already mentioned the things to look at, like who exactly is suffering this problem, right? Like who exactly? Break it down by the person's persona. I'm not saying users are unable to, like, pinpoint it to the particular persona, right? Is it a business owner? Is it an SME owner? Is it matric that works in the market, right? That has a shop in the market, right? Like you need to break it down by personas to typically understand these things, right? So a typical example, if you look at the examples we have below, for instance, Duolingo studied why learners actually quit, right? And you know, if you look at most learning platforms today, Duolingo figured out that people are not maybe learning those language, or you need to create an habit, because like the edtech platforms we have today, people will typically learn at their own pace. But sometimes, like I can tell you, there are some courses that I've, you know, paid for and I've not even used at all, right? But Duolingo noticed the gap in the industry. They're like, how do we make people learn other languages, right? And how do we make them addicted to it? So they created a product that has something around accountability, right? Where you can send streak, like you're doing streaks to people, language streak and whatnot. Those things in itself create the habits and accountability to want to actually go and learn, right? Flutterwave, for instance, noticed a friction in the cross-border payments space, right? And then they created value in that space. Uber, for instance, also noticed that there was a problem around, you know, for instance, people who do not necessarily have cars, right? They want to get to their location. They are too tush to enter bus, or maybe they have like a quick stop and the way they are dressed, they can't enter bus, or they don't want to be delayed. They have a quick meeting and they need to enter a cab, or it's raining and they don't want their drip, you know, to get wet, and then they like want to get a cab. So Uber identified a problem in that space, which is, you know, those personas, right, who do not necessarily have cars, right, or who do not want to even drive at that particular time, want to be able to get to their location without having to leave their house. And then they were able to come up with, you know, a product like Uber. What happens when you skip the problem space, right? If you rush into building the solution real quick, like without validating the problem, right, you start with assumptions. And what happens, they're saying, I think people need this. Like the moment you start hearing, I think, then it means that you're actually like taking the wrong step towards building your product, because you are not building it for yourself. And the truth is that as product managers, or as builders, or as founders, we can really be in our head around what we think, right? But the truth is that whenever you want to do a product discovery process, you need to first of all, like I said, identify the different user segments. You can have different user segments, to be fair, right? Pick a set of like population within that user segment, have an interview with them to validate those assumptions, right? So you create surveys, get to understand the problem. From your surveys, you are able to even get insights into what the problem exactly is. It might not even be what you think it is, which is why it's very important not to assume, right? And also, what happens when you skip the problem space is you build and spend months on engineering efforts, right? I mean, thankfully, teams that are leveraging on AI already are even able to iterate fast without even wasting that time. But at the end of the day, they're still wasted, because imagine you've already consumed tokens to build a platform, and then people are like, no, this thing doesn't make sense, right? When you should have actually like done the problem space, right? Validated the problem either by building, using, you can even use AI to build like a low resolution wireframe, validate the problem. Once it's validated, then you now go into the huge engineering work, right? And then when they launch, the features that they launch are not typically utilized by real users. And they start noticing churn within the platform. The marketing team is struggling to get people on board. They are struggling to keep the product metrics, you know, high, right? There's also a place where you also have to rework the platform because they're like, oh, okay, this didn't work. Let's rebuild something. And the truth is that however you see it, you've lost time. Your investor confidence is like, yo, what are these guys doing? I don't think they know what they are doing, right? In some cases, you won't even see investors because your investors would ask you questions like, okay, how do you come about thinking about this problem? Even if it's a problem that exists today, like imagine you saying, oh, because Flutterwave already does it. Okay, Flutterwave already does it. What makes you different? What problem are you going to solve that Flutterwave is not solving for? So, like, you can't skip the problem space in whatever you're doing. If it's a space where people are already building in already, it just helps you fast track your problem space because there are some things that you won't need to revalidate, like you won't need to overly validate. But it's good to validate it because there might just be one solution that Flutter didn't think about. That you just thought about, like, oh, Flutter didn't think about this. Let's do it this way because we've engaged our users and they are saying, no, this is what Flutter is doing. If you recall the previous slide, I said, like, why do current solutions fail? It's important to know that because you want to also know how to beat the competitors, right? So this is the cost of not going through your problem space. Now, what is right? So discovery is continuous within your product development phase. Again, because we might have people who currently are product managers, right? And we have the team that are building product from scratch. I'll paint it two different perspectives. The first perspective is you are building your product from scratch, right? It means discovery in this phase means you are understanding your customer's world, understanding what their pain points are, what success looks like to them, right? Asking questions that would guide you to the solution to their problem and what the problem is. For people that already have existing products, they call it continuous discovery. It means you've built a product, you're asking, okay, how is this product solving your problem now? What are the gaps that this product are not solving? What does the future mean to you in terms of solving this problem we're already solving? So like discovery process never ends. You first understand who has the problem, how painful it is, and what they currently do about it. You validate the problem by conducting interviews, coming up with low resolution prototypes. And what I typically do is, for instance, the industry I work, like we have users that are like, we call them like enterprise users, right? There are guys that we know are promoters. In a world where you don't even have users at all, you can even ask friends or different people within the user segments. Very important, guys. You need to know who your user segments are and then break it down into the different personas. So you know who to reach out to when you want to do an interview, right? Then from that interview, you come up with a prototype. Today, Claude can give you a prototype based on whatever it is real quick in less than a day. And then you organize a focus group. It could be a call, right? Where you tell them, or it could be a call or a physical meeting, depending on your approach, where people are going through the prototype, telling you, oh, okay, this makes sense. Oh, I don't think this one, how about we do this way? You pen down the feedback from the users, you iterate and say, okay, this is what the users have said about the platform. Okay, they've said this one doesn't make sense. We should do this one. Oh, someone said, oh, they want this one to be this way. So in that way, you've refined that you've actually like properly defined what the product should be from the user's point of view, not from your point of view. You are not the one using the app. It's the user, right? Then once you do that, you decide which problem to prioritize. The truth is that users would have different perspective about the problems. And while we've been saying solve a problem, right? The truth is it's not all problems that are worth solving for. And we'll get to that in the next slide, right? So people might be curious, like, what do you mean? Like, products should be able to solve problems for people. But yeah, let's be honest, people that build products are not doing it for charity, except maybe you are building an NGO product, right? So you need to know if the problem is worth solving for, right? Given the constraints and the business objectives, right? Then once you do that, you iterate again. Like I said, it's continuous delivery, right? You gather new evidence, you do a discovery process over again. So like it's iterative in nature, right? So like, how does discovery power everything, right? So like, the entire discovery process is, first off, you go through the discovery process. Like I said, you interview your users, pen down your observations, gather data. Thankfully today, again, guys, like, don't underestimate the power of Claude or other AI tools. You can actually fast track some of your research for a particular problem. Ask Claude to counter you around that problem, while you also validate with real users. You see, so that is the discovery phase. Then the problem statement, right, is now, who are we solving for? What exactly are we solving for? In what context? What is the root cause of their problems? And what is the impact we're trying to make? And then the next stage is now the opportunity solution tree, which is a framework that I'll be walking you guys through on how to typically streamline the problem you've thought about into solutions, right? And then the wordiness is basically saying, how desirable is what you're trying to solve for, or the product you're trying to build? How viable is it? Like, can we build it? Do we have enough funds to build it? Is it even buildable at this time? Right? Then the feasibility, like, are we going to make money from this thing? Like, are people suffering enough to want to release their money to pay for this product? If yes, what is the maximum or minimum amount they would want to pay for this product? How do I want to do my pricing? Like, by the time you get to that point, you'll be like, no, this problem is not worth solving, because, like, why would someone want to pay us this amount for this particular thing? Or how do we want to make money? Or, oh, I don't see a way we can charge people for this kind of service. That is where the worthiness check comes in, right? So without discovery, your problem statement is an opinion and not a fact. If you work in a standard product organization, and even if you're a founder, or if you sit with some founders that have learned from these lessons, right? Like, they like facts and data-driven, approach towards things. Like, why should I build this thing? Why should I put in time to build it? Right? So with discovery, your problem statement is very grounded with evidence. Your opportunity solution tree actually shows real opportunities because you've engaged users and the user segment that you've identified, right? And it also gives investor confidence about your thought process towards building a product, because when you're now talking about it, it's not going to come from a place of, oh, we are building this for, no, it's come from a place of, oh, we identified that about X% of users within this particular space, or X% of market women in Nigeria or in Africa are unable to access small loans, right? From our research, we're able to identify that the reason why they're unable to access these loans is because, number one, they are not literate enough. Number two, they don't have XYZ, maybe for instance, a business location, or maybe they've not registered their business to be able to get them eligible for this and that. So you've listed all the problems they are having. Then, for us to solve for this, we'll be creating a product where we're able to geotag the market woman's shop location. We're able to, on that process, do some CAC registration for them on the platform, and then score them for eligibility. Like, that in itself shows that you've drilled down to who you are solving for, you've drilled down to what problem they're experiencing, and you define different solutions to help them solve it. Right? Now, in this section, we'll be talking about, like, what are assumed problems and what are real problems. Like, how would you know when you're assuming, right? And how do you know when a problem is real? So, for an assumed problem, like, you hear things like, I think users want, right? Or everyone I know has this problem. But everyone you know might just be a particular persona or user segment, and not the entire user segment that should actually benefit from that product, right? We built this because our CEO said so, org-driven development. And I'm not even going to lie to you. When you, like, in the industry today, there are cases where people would come and meet you, CEO, business team will come and meet you and say, we need to build this. And one of the greatest skill of a product manager is the ability to say no, right, without using the word no, right? And there are different ways to say no. Okay, why are we building this? What does it solve for? Right? How does this bring in money for the business? Right? How do we validate this thing that we're trying to build? When you ask those people those questions and they can't answer it, you're like, okay, you know what? Not a problem. Let's do research on this and let's see if this feature actually makes sense or if this proposal actually makes sense. Right? The moment you do things like that, people will now be like, okay, look, maybe it was just all in my head. People will now start thinking deeply into, what the solution really is. Right. Warning signals, oh, we didn't talk to users. We just know that because Flutterwave is doing it, we should also do it. And this is why sometimes, like, you see, people would say, okay, fine, we want to build a fintech app, yeah. And then they don't do discovery. The truth is that some people will tell you, why should we do discovery when Kuda is already doing this and they are making money? But it is that there might be something that Kuda is missing. And remember what I said. What is the total addressable market? Right? Why is Kuda winning? And what are the gaps that they don't have? Let me give you guys a typical example, right? When InDrive came, they did a discovery around what the current users are using, obviously Uber and Bolt. Then the second leg was identifying the untapped problems. What was the untapped problems? Drivers were complaining that they don't have control over their price. Users were also complaining that they don't have control over their price. So InDrive said, you know what, Uber is not doing this thing. No. Taxify is not doing this thing, and they exist today in the market. They're already solving a problem, fine. So InDrive came to the market with that single feature that made them like easily grab the total addressable markets. Right. And now I think InDrive took over Uber and Bolt, to be fair, because people are now able to negotiate their price. So you see, like, they didn't just go in and say, because Uber is doing, let's just all build. No, they did discovery to identify the missing gap, the exact user problem at that particular point in time, and built to solve for it. Right. And that example can be like an edtech product, right? Where people feel like the problem is that students want more content or more courses on the platform. When maybe what they just wanted is the ability to make them accountable, ability to make them always come to do their course every time. Right? Excuse me. For transport, I think I already gave an example of transport. So what does a good assumption look like? Right? A real or good assumption typically identifies, oh, this is the user interview we've done with over 10 people or X number of people based on the addressable market. Right? We observe this user behavior based on the research we've done and based on the interviews and whatnot. You have there's what they call the quantitative and qualitative data that shows pattern, right? Shows the user pattern, user behavior across board, right? The evidence of workaround people already use, like how are people even solving for that today? For instance, workaround for Uber, people will tell, like driver will tell people, yeah, now cancel, let's do offline, right? Just because they want a better negotiation, or they want to earn more, right? People are people willing to pay to have it solved? Guys, this is very important because most of us get too excited about solving the problem. But how would the problem make money for us now? Like, how would it make money for us? And I think I've seen some of the groups, conventions and whatnot. I don't think anyone spoke about the viability of the problem that's being solved for. So I believe by the end of this class, we'll go back and think about how what we've chosen as a problem and a solution, how we intend making money or sustaining the product for that. So what is the pricing strategy? Are people willing to pay for this? Like, is it so painful enough for me to want to pay for it? I think I already sort of walked through this in the examples, right? So I'll skip that slide. Yeah. So what is a strong problem statement? I think I was able to come up with a framework, right, for what how to draft our problem statements, right? So the formula is the who struggles with, what are they struggling with, when do they struggle with it, and why do they actually struggle with it? What's the root cause? And then what is the impact of that? Right. So the who is the person or the role. Like I said, not users or everyone. We need to be able to streamline our user segment, the who we are solving for. Right. The what is the pain or the experience they currently have. Right. The context is like, where does that problem occur? The root cause is, why does this happen? Like, why is it really happening? Then the impact is, what does it cost them? Does it cost them time, money, opportunities, and whatnot? Like, what is the impact of that particular problem to the user? Right? So, a typical example, applying the formula. A weak one would say, people in the cities find it hard to get transport. Right? And a strong problem scenario like urban residents without cars, miss appointments, walking to a taxi park, and miss appointment because walking to a taxi park is slow and unpredictable, costing time and opportunities daily. Again, for clarity's sake, you can have more than one problem statement because remember I said you might be solving for different personas, right? You might be solving for different personas. And in a world where you are solving for different personas, it's also okay to mention those personas and then mention the problem, as long as the problem is the same thing that they actually have, right? So yeah, that's that. That's that about writing down your problem statements, right? It typically outlines who the user is, right? It outlines the context. It outlines what they are currently suffering. Why are they suffering it? And what is the impact of what they are suffering, right? So this slide focuses on how to like deconstruct the real problem statement, right? I think it feels like I already also sort of like spoke about this in the last slide, right? This is an instance for an edtech, right? Working adults enroll in online programs, abandon the course within 14 days because there's no structured peer accountability, resulting in wasted fees and stalled career progression. The who here is working adults, right, in online programs, like working adults that work on online, that are doing online programs. The what is that they abandon their courses. That is the what. The when is like at what point do you experience that? It's like, oh, within 14 days of enrolling, like they don't go back to their course again. Again, I'm a typical example of this adult they're talking about. Like if Coursera can create a feature where I have other professionals within the industry, right? That we are doing a streak, like, okay, well, first to finish this thing. I feel like I like competition. So like I would want to like, okay, guy, like let's finish this course, sending reminders and whatnot. You get. And what is the root cause? Like, because there's no mechanism to make me want to just like finish that course on time. There's no motivation to want to do that. Right. So the impact is that I just spend money on courses. I'm not doing anything. I don't know about stock career progression, but yeah, it depends on how you're getting your knowledge as well. So yeah, that is typically, how to draft your problem statements. So now, this is the most exciting part. It is how to come up with your opportunity and solution tree, right? So, like I said, this framework typically helps like a lot in products. And I think you guys should do more research on that because again, I understand that it's weekend and we have precious time to utilize. And I'm not trying to just, spend more than the allotted time. But you can do more research about opportunity solution tree. It's called OST for short, right? It focuses on the outcome you are looking at. So after spelling out what the problem statement is, we're able to now identify the different opportunities, right? So from the last problem that I mentioned, the goal is to reduce course abandonment within 14 days. That was the problem that we identified. Now, opportunity in this case means that what are the possible things that we can see, like how can we leverage on this problem? So what opportunity do we have as a business or as a product team? Like what are the opportunities that this problem presents to us, right? So opportunity one, accountability gaps. Opportunity two, schedule flexibility, inflexibility. Opportunity three, no social connection. And most times the opportunities are like the problems, like you are trickling down those problems, breaking it down. And then the solution would now be what you think will solve for that problem. So the first opportunity, which is a problem, like, oh, because there's accountability gap, like I'm not made accountable to finish my course, right? That is one opportunity. And then the matching solution would now be, oh, to create a study body, right? Weekly reminders to take a course. For scheduling flexibility, put flexible deadlines and whatnot. For no social connection, live cohort sessions, peer-to-peer community and whatnot. That is an example. So now, let's now marry everything together, looking at a particular use case, right? So in the transportation space, for instance, right? The problem statement is urban residents without cars struggle to reach their destination on time, right? And if you want to add impact to myself, and this leads to missed appointments, whatever it is, right? What is the outcome we want? We want to help users reach any destination reliably, on demand, and on time, right? So now, if we break it down into an opportunity tree, this is opportunity one, opportunity two, opportunity three. So no on-demand access. Again, just imagine Uber never existed, right? You will notice that this was a problem we once had before Uber. Like, typically what we do is we will go to a taxi park. I don't know if everybody on this call are like Gen Zs and they can relate, or we have Nepo babies on this call that never had to like go to taxi parks, right? But growing up, we'll go to taxi parks and they usually have like taxi parks that are not like, in some cases, the taxi park is not even close to your house. You have to either take bus or take a bike to the nearest taxi park. That was a problem. And it was because there was no on-demand access to rides. So the solution listed under here is like app-based ride hailing application, a driver network, right, to provide enough rides to people, right? Surge-based supply match. So based on surge, and the areas that have like the highest this thing, you are intuitively telling drivers, to go to the particular area, or users are actually trying to order them in a particular area, giving them price points within that area, increasing price based on the surge and whatnot, right? Like I said, long walk to the taxi or bus stop, like it was literally crazy doing that, right? So that's why you think about building an app that also has like a pickup location, real-time driver tracking where I can see how the driver is coming to my side, then GPS to enable the platform also tell where I am, where the driver is, and how to link us together. Then the third problem within this, like to help us achieve this outcome around this problem space, is unpredictable wait time. Like I don't want to even be waiting, even if I expect a taxi to come. I don't want to be waiting, right? So live ETA display, right? Estimated time of arrival, right? Trip tracking, to track when the driver is coming, to track when I'm going to get to my destination. Advanced ride scheduling, where I can like schedule a ride beforehand. In the case of EdTech, right? The problem here is that students who cannot attend physical classes struggle to learn consistently. Imagine a world like during COVID, right? Like a lot of students, I remember going to even do user research in one university in Nigeria, right? During COVID. We wanted to know what they were struggling with, if they were even ready for an edtech solution that was supposed to be built for that state government, right? So we went there, had a research with them. We got to even understand some things that were just in our head, that they were like, how do we even run the test? Lecturers were now asking questions. That, okay, how do we do this? How do we ensure students are not cheating? Like, those things brought out problems that they currently experience. Students said, oh, some of our lecturers like to sell their handouts. If you bring up this platform, they might frustrate you because you're now curbing that ability to sell handouts. So as a product manager, what do you think about in that case? You think about like incentives for lecturers to be able to upload their handouts, right? So that is the importance of understanding your problem, defining what outcome you are looking at. In this case of outcome, enable quality education anywhere at any place. So guys, as you are stating your problem, you are coming up with your problem statement, state what the outcome is. Like, what outcome are you looking at for the users? What do you want them to be able to say they've achieved after using your platform, right? Then you now break down into opportunities. Opportunities are the different problems within that space. So one is, I cannot attend class physically, maybe because I'm busy working and a part-time worker. I'm working, I want to also do part-time. Or, oh, I'm working in Nigeria, but I want to study. I want to do a course in UK. So I want like an online training. Like, my schedule is very like tight. Like, I cannot mix, my schedule with, learning and whatnot, right? So you think about building a platform where there's a video lecture library, mobile platform where on the go, I'm on my iPad or my mobile phone, I can just be learning on the go, right? Offline download, I can download even when there's no internet. I can actually be watching these things. Rigid schedule, because I can't be learning every day. Like, I might just be busy one day, right? And I don't want to miss any part of the course. I can have a self-paced model. I can save and resume. I can have micro learning, right? I can track my progress. I can, set weekly goals for what I want to learn. So the opportunity solution tree is very important. And again, guys, I don't know, I've not been counting, but again, with a good Claude prompt, if you have your problem statements and your outcome, in fact, you can even say, this is my problem statement based on my research. And this is the outcome I'm looking at. What do you think are the key problems within this space? It helps you come up with the opportunities within that space. So you can even tell it, help me create an opportunity solution tree for this particular problem, right? So how do you know you are getting this wrong, right? When you jump into solution, right? And opportunity tree is not a wish list. It is basically you saying, this is my problem statement, right? These are the key opportunities to leverage because people have this problem, right? Then from that opportunity, what are the solutions under each of the opportunities, right? So don't jump into solutions. Your tree should be a branch. That's why it's called opportunity tree. And again, please, guys, read about it so that you can get to understanding more deeply beyond what is being taught here, based on the time that we have, right? So, don't use features as opportunities. Like, don't say, oh, we want to add dark mode. That's not a solution. The solution is like what actually solves the problem for that user, right? And it has to connect to the outcome, which is why it's a step, right? Let me go back to that. It's a step. What outcome are we looking at achieving? So what is the problem we are solving for? What is the outcome we intend achieving? What are the opportunities that we can identify from these problems, right? So again, just painting it to the both scenario, right? One opportunity might be, oh, users are unable to negotiate pricing. The solution to that is create capability for users, for both drivers, not users, sorry, for drivers and riders or passengers to negotiate price. And that one would be passengers and drivers do not feel secure when driving, that's a problem, right? The solution would be create a security or introduce security capabilities to ensure drivers and passengers feel safe. That's the solution. So those things is now you now have to break down your solution into the features to say, okay, for instance, the last one I mentioned, you can now say, okay, fine, build a feature to enable drivers share location with their loved ones when they are picking someone up and share the person's profile as well. A share feature that enables passengers share location with their loved ones. A share feature that enables passengers share driver details with their loved ones. Right? That is after you define your solution. So yeah, a key question to ask once you've now done all these things is like, in fact, it's important to even ask the question before you even start doing the tough work of, jumping into the OST, because you've already identified the problem based on your user research and whatnot, right? Because it's a problem again, like guys, it's easy to get swamped in this thing. Because it's a problem doesn't mean it's worth solving for, especially when you are in a business, because you are paying people, you are paying for infrastructure. So the question to ask yourself is it worth solving for? Like, first off, the desirability. Do enough people have this problem badly? Again, identify your user segments, right? Or your market segments. Market segments is very important because when you are coming up with a solution, the first thing you do is, which market do I want to play in? Some of us chose edtech, some chose fintech, some chose transportation, some chose real estate. So that's, you've identified the industry you want to play. Now you have to identify, in this industry or this market, how many people, what is the total addressable market? So for instance, you can say in real estate, for instance, if you are saying, oh, in Nigeria, we have a total population of 1 million people, and out of those 1 million people, about 500,000 are adults. Out of that 500,000, about 300,000 can afford buying a property. So it means your total addressable market is 300,000. Like those other people cannot buy. Like you've already seen that they cannot buy. So at that point in time, people that you can address are the 300K people that can afford it. Then your serviceable markets, like as a business, okay, who can we even service at this point in time? Or who can we obtain? So you cannot be, oh, from this 300, we have this particular real estate company. They've already even taken 50%. So like 150 people are already on their platform. So it means we have to play around 150 people first and poach people from their own side. If we play around 150 people, and our product pricing is saying this is the amount we're going to charge, how much are we possibly going to even make first? How do we strategize to ensure that, like, in fact, when you answer that, how much are we going to make with this 150? We're like, it's not enough. Oh. What can we do to steal these people's customer? So it helps you properly strategize your products. And again, I feel like I've gone beyond problem statement. I've gone into product strategy, right? But I'm saying this because it just helps you people, it helps put into perspective and helps people rethink what you've thought about. Because me, like my team members, I'll be asking them, okay, how are we going to make money from this thing? It's very important. How are we going to make money? Does it really solve someone's problem? And is the problem, like, is it bad enough for them to want to open an app to solve that problem for them? Like like someone might have a problem, but having to open an app to solve that problem might not be the solution. Like, I'm like, why am I opening an app to take 5 different steps or 6 different steps for this problem? So you need to ask yourself deeply, right? Like, can I just make use of the alternative because it's just a safe option for me? And because I don't have to pay for the alternative, right? So Viability, I already spoke about this. Can we build a business around it? Feasibility, do we have the resource to build it? Do we have an advanced technology? Like, some people might be thinking about one solution that the world is not ready for yet. Right? So you're asking, do we have the capability to be able to solve this? Do we have the developers to solve this? Do we have the resource to be able to build this? Imagine someone recommending something and they're like, oh, for us to be able to build this, we need one model that is worth $5,000 monthly. You're also asking yourself, okay, right now, like, do I have the money to be able to move this product ahead? Okay, no, I don't. Can I get investors? No, I can't. Or, okay, let me try. At the end of the day, like, you know what? Right now, it's not feasible for me to build this because, I mean, I don't have this resource at hand. It can also be a case where it's not feasible because the technology does not even exist in the industry, the skill does not exist. But thankfully, we have AI these days, so like, you know, that feasibility, the impact can be reduced a little bit. So like, a program that passes all these three, right, is worth building for. Like, if you do your checklist, desirability, does it pass it? Viability, does it pass it? Feasibility, does it pass it? It means that you are solving the right problem. But if one of them is missing, you might need to rethink that problem. You might need to rethink it or figure out how your solution around that problem would actually meet these three worthiness check. Right? So moving to the next. So the 9 questions to ask for worthiness. So first one is desirability. What niche are we solving for? And guys, if you notice, I've been saying this over and over again during this slide. Like, drill down to the niche. Don't just say users, no, like, break them down into different personas. Right? Does it have different niche? Are you targeting, you know, both young and adults? If you're targeting young and adults, what problem are the adults having? What problem are the young ones having? Right? What outcome are they looking at? What are the opportunities I can pick from this problem they're having? And from these opportunities, what are the solutions I can come up with to solve it for them? Then the 2 under desirability is who is actually affected and how bad are they affected? Then the 3, viability. What does the market size look like? I already spoke about this. Target addressable markets. So TAM, SAM, and SOM. You can also read about that if it's your first time hearing about it. Who else is solving this problem? Like, who in the industry is solving this problem for these guys? Another thing to look at is how are they solving it and what is missing. So typically, when I'm doing user research, what I do is, if it's a problem that someone is already solving for, I ask them, okay, which product do you typically utilize for this today? They mention it. Okay, how is this product helping you? They mention it. How do you think this product should improve? Or how is this product frustrating you? Or which area do you feel like you need this product to improve? They will tell you. That is a gap that you can add to, you know, that's an extra problem or opportunity for you, right? That you can actually now come up with solutions for. And then your solutions, again, trickle down into the features that you're going to be building, right? So that covers where do the current solution fails. What assumptions might be wrong? Like, paint your hypothesis, like, okay, even from the team, we've assumed this, and that. How can we test these assumptions? Right? Which one is wrong? Which one is right? What do we need to improve or build? Like I said, sometimes you might just be improving an existing product. And sometimes you might just be building something from scratch. Right? What resource do we need? Do we need a front-end guy or a back-end guy or a full-stack guy or an AI engineer because I want to implement AI in my product? Right? Like, what skill set or what resource do you need? How do we make money from this? Very, very important. Viability. So those are like the 9 questions to ask yourself. So I'd like you guys to, you know, go back within your team, ask yourself these questions if they've not been answered in the documents you had worked on. Like reevaluate what you've thought about, and come back to us. Right. Sorry, did I'm not sure what happened, but I don't say the sound. Okay. So yeah, just a typical example. And guys, I'm trying to round up. It's already 11. I feel like I've used my time. So I'm going to rush through the slides. Right. A typical example for EdTech, the niche, remember, focusing on this 9 framework. The niche is working adults from age 25 to 40, that are upskilling for tech roles. They affected 12 million learners per year. Right? 70% of them drop on their, like they drop in 2 weeks. I mean, drop means like they are not typically using the platform after 2 weeks. The market, what is the total addressable market? We have $5 billion e-learning in Africa. Like that's the total addressable market within Africa, with 17% increase year on year. Competitors, Coursera, Udemy. What's the current gap? No cultural relevance, mobilized peer model. Like Coursera is just like global. Like how about we build an edtech for those Africans where we can relate, right? Then how do we make money? By subscription. We can have like corporate subscription as well. We can have licensing where we white label the solution for people and they are paying license fee. For a fintech solution, the niche is SME importers in West Africa paying overseas. Who are the people affected? About 2.3 million SME business owners are affected. They have an average of about $3,400 loss to FX friction because they are unable to make payments. Like that's the average. These people are losing. So how are they affected? What is total addressable market? We have about 48 billion SMEs that are typically utilizing cross-border payment, like $48 billion market. So if you hear this, you're like, oh, this is like $48 billion market is a large market that I can solve for. So from that 48 billion, you can further drill down to how many people have even tapped into this 48 billion? How many can I even tap into? Like how many dollar can I make from this addressable 48 billion? So who are my competitors? I have Swift, I have Flutterwave. But what's their problem? They are slow or they are expensive. This is an example, right? So what is the gap? There's no FX lock. The instant settlement under 5K takes time. There's frustration around getting Forex for merchants. The onboarding process is stressful. Those are gaps and opportunities for you to leverage on. Then from those opportunities, you come up with your solution. Then how do I make money? I make money by FX spread. I give them a dashboard where they can actually like onboard on and do other things, and I'm charging them extra for a monthly subscription. The same thing applies for Uber, so but I'll not bore you with those examples. So yeah, what are the red flags, right, for when you want to do something? If the problem is only for like 1 to 2 people, or less than 20% of the total addressable market. In fact, less than, let me say 30%. It means it's not worth solving for, because like if you are saying you have 1 million people in Nigeria and only, for instance, 100 people like actually have this problem, only 100 people. Like, do you think you want to spend the whole like investment addressing only 100 people? Like, how much will your business make? How do you want to grow? And again, it could even be globally. You can be looking, okay, we have total number of population globally. Out of those population, only these people have that problem. Like, it's not worth solving for if it's like a very large portion of the chunk, right? No one pays. Like, if no one is willing to pay for it and there's no way to make money from it, it's not worth solving for. Right? Or you have a world where like you have like a competitor that is well funded and they already captured, you have 1 million addressable markets and they've already captured 900 out of them. What makes you think that those 900 people will come on your platform? Which is why today you see that some people would not even want to just like payment gateway. They would just say leave it for money points and leave it for Flutterwave and Paystack. We have other payment gateway providers today that are just managing a small niche. So the question is, as a new product, what makes you think that you build one new product and people will leave Flutterwave and leave Paystack that is fully funded? Like if you build, even if you build a typical new feature, they can build that feature in less time and use their funding to outshine you and then get their gains back. So again, this is also product strategy thinking, right? Or product thinking, right? So what is green lights? You have a lot of users, like people are willing to pay for the app. Competitors exist, but there are like still gaps within that industry that they've not solved for, right? And your team has like an unfair advantage in that particular domain. Like nobody has ever solved for a problem in that domain before, right? For instance, even if we look at Claude and ChatGPT started first mover advantage. I'm sure Claude must have done like prior research, checking the gaps ChatGPT has, and then they came with an unfair advantage of like they poached some big guys from other companies and they built something that ChatGPT could not even come close to. That is identifying a problem, identifying the gaps that your competitors have, creating opportunity around that, defining what the solution is, and coming up with features to solve for that. Right? So, basically, we might be thinking like, okay, in all this process in itself, like within the team that I have today, like who is responsible for what? Like, is this supposed to be the product manager that would handle everything? No, like, yeah, product manager is like the facilitator of everything that needs to be done around the product. But then we need the key people to also play their role. The product manager is, of course, is responsible for framing the problem. Like, what problem are we trying to solve? What is the industry we're looking at? What outcome are we looking at? Then the product manager is responsible for coming up with the opportunity and solution tree. Within the research phase, where you are doing your discovery, you would also need the UI designer or the UI UX. They are the ones that typically help you. In some cases, like I leverage on their skill set in UX, right, to come up with questionnaires for users, right? So they identify user pain points, they map the user journey. They handle focus groups sometimes because they just have that skill set as user experience designers. So we use that input into the problem statements, the outcome, and the OST. So the engineers will tell you, okay, based on this problem you've identified and the possible opportunities we've seen, these are the areas I feel like we can build. Oh, this is not technically feasible. We can't build this because the technology doesn't exist. Or, oh, if we build this, it's going to drag the system, it's going to do this, and it doesn't have any impact. So, excuse me. That is where your engineer comes in to give you insights into how it needs to be built. Data analysts will look at, okay, you've given me this data, right? Quantitative data, right? Let me analyze it and see what user pattern is like. Right. Well, let's look at the survey. Let's analyze the survey to see what the insight is saying to us. Or let's do a research to see what what we can find around these things. Then business and growth would also help you validate the market size, marketing team as well. Look at the competitive landscape. What are our competitors? What are they doing better? How can we make money from this? What is the pricing structure in this industry today? How are our competitors pricing these things? What can we do? Should our strategy be low pricing to enter the market, right? Or should it be, same pricing with our competitors, but additional feature, and stuff like that. So like everybody has a key role to play, right, in the entire discovery process, coming up with the problem statement, moving from the problem space to the solution space. So we don't have time for the live exercise now, but I would thankfully, right, we had worked on the task for week 1. I don't know if, the team members are also allowed to, based on the outcome of this session, go back to look at the task again, right? Challenge what you currently have based on what has been discussed on this call, refine it, right? And then reshare with your mentor. It might also be a case where your mentor would look at it and share feedback based on the framework that they typically utilize as PMs, right? So the key questions you need to ask yourself is, who exactly has this problem? Again, I feel like I've said this a lot of times. How do you know that it is a problem? Like, I would ask my people, like, I'll ask them, what's the evidence that this is a problem? Did we do any interview? How did we get our observations? How do we validate the assumptions that we have in our mind? Or did we just come up with the product because we think someone within the team said, I'm having this issue? That's not an acceptable way of defining your product. And what happens if it stays unsolved? Like, will people like still go ahead and leave or still complain? Like, imagine a world where Uber never solved for ride. Like, it's raining now and maybe someone needs to get somewhere. Like people will still be for sure. Like, no, why do I have to wait for Baba so and so that has a taxi that is at a taxi park that I have to maybe call his phone number to even come and pick me? Let me round up with a typical example. Right before, my last example. There's a company called iTaxi. iTaxi started business before Uber, and they failed in terms of the product discovery, like the problem space versus solution space. I feel like they jumped into solution space because then, like I said, before Uber ever came to Nigeria, they were like the first people to have like rides like Uber. In fact, they had cars, like they bought cars, branded iTaxi cars, right? And what happens is the drivers would just park in specific areas. Then people would, because obviously Nigerians are very funny. You don't want a case where people are calling the driver directly and then driver is not remitting. So the phone number to call, you call the office, the call center person that you want to book a taxi. They'll tell you, where are you? You say, I'm at this place. They will call a driver that is at that location to come and pick you up. To the owner or the product person, the person thought, okay, that was the best way to actually like solve that problem. But guess what? Like, the company has crashed today. Like, it wasn't even sustainable for them. We don't track drivers. Drivers will lie about utilizing fuel. Like, it was just a mess. And then Uber solved that by saying, well, despite the gaps in your market, like, how would you be how do you be operating like that? Create a driver app, create a customer app, link them together. Have a backend, an admin system that monitors trip for drivers, monitors trip for users. You're able to keep record of how much the driver is making. You're able to keep stock of what the customer is paying. So it solves the entire problem of me being scared about a driver, not remitting money. You see? So that is why it's very important to understand the real problem users are having. Like, what is the real problem? What are the opportunities here? And how can we solve for it efficiently? So, this was supposed to be part of the exercise. What comes with like your best idea, like your problem statements, your evidence log, maybe rough interviews. It could be like output from surveys, then your opportunity solution tree, right? Basically focusing on the problem statements, what outcome you are looking at, what are the opportunities. Remember, because I call it opportunities, like that's what they call it, but because it's opportunities, opportunity means what are the things that this problem presents to me that I can leverage on. That's what opportunity means. So in other words, it also means like the issue that people are currently experiencing today based on that problem you said. Right? And the worthiness filter, like, is it viable? Are people willing to pay for this? What alternatives do they have? You can also add like your assumption list, right? So yeah, one thing to remember is like your solution is only as good as the identified problems, right? The teams that build things people actually use are not the smartest things, right? They are the teams that spent the most time understanding the problem before touching a prototype or even building. So thanks, guys. At this point, we can take questions and answers, and then we can round up the call. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tolu. This has been really, really insightful. Please, guys, let's continue to give a round of applause to Tolu for this amazing session. It's been very insightful, very eye-opening, and it was really, really packed with a lot of value. Thank you so much, Tolu. If you have any questions, please raise up your hand so that we can take the questions. Nonsense. Let's continue to give a round of applause to Tolu, guys. This was a very, very good session. If you listened all through, there's no way you would have picked something from the session. You can also drop the questions in the comments if you have any from the session. Tolu, someone said, can you quickly flash your last slide? Maybe they want to take a screenshot of it. Okay, thank you. Kingsley, is this the slide you're referring to? Okay, so while we note down the questions, okay, someone wants to say something. Please go ahead. Okay, so while we note the questions, please just note it down while we gather the questions and all that. I want to just pick up a few things from what Tolu said. The problem has to be real, like you said, and it shouldn't be assumed or it shouldn't be convenient. It has to be real. And then the tree that you mentioned we could always refer to learn more. I think that's a very, very, the OST tree, that's a very, very valuable one. It's definitely worth researching. I've also taken a screenshot myself. I'll be digging deeper into that. Thank you so much, Tolu, again. This is the standard that we should all be holding in this court, and today you've shared what it looks like from someone who has built like a standard product across the African continent and addressing real-time problem as well. So that is definitely a very, very good one from your hand. Thank you so much again. So before we close, let me check the comments again if we have any noted questions. Okay, so maybe Tolu could share the slide later on for anyone who came late and wants dig deeper into the slides, right? But a few things to note before we close up today is week 2 officially begins on Monday. That is in 2 days' time, and your team WhatsApp group chat. Okay, I'll take the question. I just wanted to. Okay, Kingsley, please go on.
Okay. Good morning, everyone.
Yeah,
Good morning.
All right. Yeah. So, please, I want to quickly ask. Is related to churn management.
Mm-hmm.
It's related to churn management and MAU. Or let me not even say MAU. Let me just use the word active users in general and churn management. Now, I've worked with OPay, PamPay, Flutterwave, Fair Money. I'm currently with Momo PSB. And one thing I have realized is that when you look at the two biggest players today for offline payments, MoneyPoint and OPay, I am trying to understand, because for me, I see them as we have people doing the same thing. Everybody's just doing almost the same thing. Now, people that are below or behind OPay and MoneyPoint, they struggle with getting or onboarding or acquisition agents and merchants. They struggle with it.
Yeah.
And when I went to the market, when I really joined Momo PSB, I went to the market and I said, and I met a POS agent. I'm saying, what do you like about money points? The person could not tell me anything specific. I went to an OP agent. What do you like about OP? The person could not tell me anything unique, anything different. Then when I said, okay, at the end of Momo PSB, would you like to get a Momo PSB terminal or come to Momo PSB platform? They said no, for no reason. And, really struggling with our merchant base dropping, agent base is dropping. And I look at the two products, the three products, or the products in general in the market, they are almost the same thing. Now, my question is, how do we increase user base, active agent base, active merchant base? How do we increase it? And how do we manage the churn? How do we manage the churn? By increasing user base or stabilizing the user base. User base across normal customers, agent, and merchant. How do we stabilize it? By managing on. How do we just maintain that stable base? Considering that everybody is doing the same thing. I'm coming from what's applicable to me now, not other products, but payments products now. If you talk of remittance too, the only difference when you talk of remittance is just maybe pricing. Everybody is sending money to almost the same place, African countries and Europe. But how do you now capture your own base and say, oh, these are my active users, and stabilize it and managing the churn? Thank you.
Good. All right, thanks for that. I mean, if you notice, I've just been showing, there's something you look at, there's a product metrics you look at. It's a methodology, right? I think Google uses it. And I would answer your question in a bit. I just wanted to, just point you back to these things while you're looking at your product versus what people are, in the market today. Because the truth is that sometimes, like, if you ask a user a direct question like, why are you using money points? Some of them might not be able to, and they're like, because Shukura is using money points. Or because, so what money point has been able to do is they've been able to create happiness for their users. They've been able to create a mind share. They've been able to create credibility. Again, one thing I like you to do is, and I don't joke with this thing, your user segment, your user persona. You need to understand that the people that you are going to sell your POS to are people that are highly perception based. Like, they don't know the tech. So don't get deep into the tech that, oh, my tech works. Or, okay, I have this thing that is doing payment. No. You need to build trust. You need to build that happiness, right? The satisfaction, the perceived ease of use. So one thing you might even want to do with your current thing is like, just create surveys to even know what your net promoter score is. Like, will people even say they like what your platform is doing? Like where we are, like where I work, we usually like share like monthly surveys, to determine what the NPS of our products is based on those users. In a world where your users are not necessarily like literate people, you might want to, go to the field and get these things. So what Money Points and the Relax they've been able to do is they've been able to build a brand that creates happiness. And happiness in this case means there's satisfaction, there's that mind share, like people already know them, right? They've been able to create ease in the market. And I'll get to your question, but let me just go through this, what the art framework, right? There's the engagement, the level of involvement. How are they visiting the platform per day? How are they engaging the platform, at a particular point in time? The adoption, how many users are, adopting the platforms at every point in time? So those are things that you look at in your product. The rate at which users are returning and users are leaving. I feel like you need to even start from that. Like, why are you not, like, you need to look at your product metrics, engage your users as to why they are churning. I might not be able to answer why they are churning because I don't have the product data. But again, I'll just speak generally, right? Your question was, how do you reduce churn? And how do you drive a world where you're able to compete with these big guys, right? I've answered the first part. Check your product metrics. Look at your churn rates within a particular period. If you have mixed panel or any product analytics tool, look at what point do people typically like leave a particular task. Check your transaction success rates. check your onboarding flow. See if it's as easy as Money Point's onboarding flow. Define what your question should be. Don't ask a vague question like what it is that, like, what is Money Point doing that one? Or like, why are you using Money Points? You know, you're asking questions around what you feel like is the reason why they're using Money Points. Or what key thing are they doing for you? What's the transaction like? How easy is it for you to onboard? You can even be asking questions based on the feature that you have. Like, okay, is the charge, how much is the charge? Do you feel like the charge is the cheapest in the market? You know, so you're asking questions that will guide them to answer you, because guess what? These people might not, like, they have the question in them, but you've not just brought it out the right way you should. Right? Then, once you now have the data as to why your existing users are churning, I feel like that is even the first place to start from. You're now defining strategies. Okay, people are saying the onboarding is stressful. We're asking them for too many documents. Right? You now go and meet the agents on the field to say, okay, you are using Money Points. What's the onboarding like? Do they ask you for this document? And they're like, in fact, the person will even be the one gisting you and saying, Oga, like, they could just tell us to just give them name or everything is like. So in that way, you've streamlined the questions you're asking them. You've brought out the answers from their mouths. Then in terms of strategy, one thing Money Point did was they understood that the banks, for instance, were literally selling POS to these merchants. As a merchant or as an agency banking person, you must have money to buy the POS you want to utilize. But the strategy that Money Point used was they are willing to give you that POS terminal and you pay over a period of time. So one strategy you can even do is we can give you the POS. You can pay a particular installment. You can decide that we should be debiting the repayments from your charges, right? Or your settlement, the money will settle to you. We can be debiting 10% every month so that you can pay for your POS over this period of time, right? The onboarding flow, you can say, okay, we understand that most of you are saying our onboarding is very stressful. We've streamlined the onboarding. But again, don't flout CBN rule. You have to consider regulatory policies, but ensure that your onboarding is as seamless as possible based on what is achievable in the market today. Transaction uptime. People have morphed into, before you even do, like for instance, Money Point, there was a day I wanted to make payments. The lady was like, which card are you using? I said GTB. She was like, GTB is down. I'm like, how do you know? So she showed me somewhere on the POS terminal where the merchants or the agents can see which card is currently down or which bank is currently down. Intuitiveness. So even though the agents cannot just tell you, like, they don't know these features now. They that it's just easy to use. But guess what? It's because of those minor things that makes their life easy. Easy settlements. Maybe their settlements is on time. That is also one bit. So, like, again, that's where we're moving into product strategy, and that's where product strategy comes in. But one thing I always say is identify your segments, check the data that you have, conduct a survey on your current users, to identify the reason why they're churning, deep dive into data analysis around your user behavior, right? From your results, now create a questionnaire to engage your competitors' audience, right? To compare the response you've gotten from people to what Money Point is doing, then define your own strategy. More often than not, if you want to outshine Money Points as Momo, the truth is that the key things to reduce your MSC cost, like your cost. You have to reduce a particular cost that you're getting. Maybe you're promising them T plus 0, like instant settlement. Merchants want to see their money ASAP, right? You're telling them, for this POS terminal, I can give you for free, but I'll be deducting from your money on a daily basis, right? Those are things that, like, they're like, okay, Money Point, they do this thing. These people are their uptime is even good. Anytime customer comes, they're like, you can even start doing like merchant leaderboard. The best merchant of the month, you are to recognize them, send them MTN AMPA. Like, those little things matter. Yeah, so let's not deep dive into product strategy. But I hope that answers a little bit of your question.
Thank you very much again, Tolu. That was very, very insightful. Let me check the chat if there is any. Okay, someone asked that could you please send us the slide?
Yeah, sure. I would send it to either Elizabeth or yourself, and then it can be shared with him. Yeah.
All right, great. Thank you so much. Because we're past our time now, I'm just going to leave us with one last thing. I was about to say this earlier, but week two begins officially on Monday, and every WhatsApp group should receive like a full brief of what is expected. So when you receive this, please everyone take your time and go through the brief where it has been sent so that we can get things running by Monday, which is June 2nd. And then our next session will be on Wednesday, which is June 4th. And then we will have another incredible mentor that will take us through the scope of a solution, and we can eventually maybe ship by week 4, and then details will be shared in the community. So be on the lookout in the announcement channel in the community, right? So again, to you, Tolu, thank you so much again for your time, your I mean, I see the passion in the way you speak about these things, your honesty as well, and then your standard that you bring to everything we're all doing here. It means a lot, and we are extremely grateful for your contribution to this. So, to everyone joining to this session, go ahead and build something meaningful and real. See you on Wednesday. Thank you again for your time, and have a great day, everyone. Bye.
All right. Have a great day. Cheers.
Cheers.